Hey y'all, Alex from Pacific Plaza Circuits here. I'm back today with a time-lapse repair video for the Fender Starcaster Chorus pedal. So the Starcaster series was a budget line of pedals and guitars made by Fender in the 2000s, and I think they're most famous for being sold at Best Buy. Yeah, the big box electronics retailer with the giant yellow tag for a logo. So I'm going to explain what I'm doing as the video progresses, tell you a little bit about the specs and the build on this budget pedal from the mid-2000s, and hopefully we'll get a little sound sample at the end too. So as you can see, the level knob was damaged on this pedal and the pot shaft comes right out of the body. So not great. It basically leaves the effect level like stuck at 0. So we're basically going to have to open this thing up. And once we open it up, we'll be able to get inside. Hopefully we'll be able to remove that pot and put in a new one. So I'm going to start by unscrewing these screws here on the side. And we're also going to need to take off the knobs, unscrew the potentiometers. And you can see that there's a couple ribbon cables here connecting to the boards on the inside of the pedal. So move the knobs, including that broken one. And once we can get inside there, we can see what we need to continue to take apart to be able to get this thing repaired. Now, once I open it up, you can see that there's a little board here that's held down to the bottom of the pedal. And then we have a little daughter board for our potentiometers. So I looked up earlier what the value on this was, and I bought the correct value, but I could not get the correct size. So you can see that this is a 16 millimeter pot, and the pots in this pedal I think are 9 millimeter, and they go directly on this daughter board, so it's not really something where you can directly substitute. But what I'll do is I'll remove that old pot that's broken from the daughter board, just using a little bit of flux, a little bit of solder. You know, if you put fresh solder on there, it'll help. And then I just use the soldering wick. So I use the soldering wick to take off the old pot. And as you can see, it doesn't quite fit the new one. So I'm just going to put some wires on it and I'll stick those wires in the hole. Hopefully the pot will fit in nice and snugly and we'll be able to use this thing again. So I had to use the solder wick a couple times here, but eventually you can see it comes loose. And the legs do fit in the board, but the problem is with the size of the hole in the enclosure. So I got to drill it a little bit, and then I'll be able to get it to fit right in there. So I'm going to get out some wire. I'm going to get out this little helpful 3D printed wire holder I found on Thingiverse at some point. And I'm going to prep my wires, get them put onto that potentiometer. And then I'm going to try and get that potentiometer to fit in the hole. And from what I could tell, it is not the same diameter. So I'm going to have to drill out a little bit of the case to be able to get this to work. So I'm going to start by getting my wires attached to the potentiometer. I made a little wooden jig here where I just drilled a hole in it so I could stick the shaft of the potentiometer in there, solder my wires on, add a little heat shrink. And now comes the process of trying to fit this thing inside the enclosure. And I did actually get lucky. So I drilled it out a little bit and you can see it fits now. And luckily, these old potentiometers that were in this pedal have a little bit of a notch. So I'll flip over to a picture of one of the old potentiometers, the broken one actually. You can see it has this little notch that sets it back from the enclosure. And because it has this little notch, I was able to be able to run my wires through there, and you could see I put the potentiometer into the enclosure, and now I'm just going to put the wires into those old holes from the broken potentiometer and solder them in place. And luckily, because of that space created by the little notch on the old potentiometer, this new one fits in there quite nicely. You might be wondering how I figured out the value of this pot before even opening the pedal, actually. And what's cool about this pedal is it's actually a clone of the Boss CE5. So I was able to look up the CE5 schematic online, figure out what the value of the level pot was, which was 250K C taper, and purchase the correct one from Tida Electronics, which is a website that tons of DIY people use for their supplies. Okay, well, it's passing sound now, and you can hear that there is actually a chorus effect going on. So we're gonna stuff it all back in there. I gotta get the daughter board snugly fitting next to that new pot. Just barely coming through. Get the nuts on. Get it all back in place. And screw it all back so it is fitting perfectly. There's a couple other loose things inside of here that I wanted to tighten up. The foot switch is a little sketchy, and the side jacks are not the best. But like I said, these were budget pedals back in the 2000s, sold really cheaply, sometimes in blister packs, maybe always in blister packs at Best Buy. So it's pretty interesting that they still show up, and they show up for prices that are higher than what they originally cost, I would think. But it's a pretty decent chorus pedal. Let's tune up the guitar, plug it on in, do a little quick sound sample. This is just a rough and dirty thing with the camera mic. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed my video repairing the Fender Starcaster Chorus, and hopefully I'll do a little video on the mods I made to this pedal, because after I finished repairing it, I decided why not screw around and replace some parts, change some values, and add some switches. So maybe I'll make a video on that. I kind of want to wait to get a real CE5 and then compare them side by side, and maybe do the mods side by side, because they're essentially the same modding platform. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. If there's any pedals you want me to feature in the future, or if you have any pedals that you need repaired, you can hit me up on Instagram at Pacific Plaza Circuits. Thank you so much. Have a good day.